In this video, I'm going to go through the questions that I ask my clients in order to gather all the information that I need to design the perfect kitchen for them. Hi, I'm Michael and welcome to the channel. I'm going to make two videos around all of this as I break my questions down into two sections, so look out for part 2 to this video. I wanted to go through and share the questions that I ask and why I'm asking them and the types of answers that I'm looking for from my clients, in the hope it can help you think about your new kitchen in a little bit more detail. As I said, I break all my questions down into two sections. The first section is questions that help me understand the client, and the second section are the questions that I need to gather all the technical information in order to design the kitchen and the layout. I always start with the questions that help me understand the client, as I think it's a nice way to get to know them and chat a bit more casually about their project. So these are the questions I'm going to go over in this first video. So the first question I always ask is, tell me about your project. What I'm looking for here is this a complete new build? Is it an extension that you're doing and the kitchen's part of that? Or is it a refurb, so it's an existing space and we're just redoing the kitchen? Gathering this information helps me to start to put a picture together about what's going on. It also helps me to understand if things can be a little bit more flexible in terms of sort of the building. If it's a new build, maybe we could move a window if it's more beneficial for the kitchen layout. Same with an extension, we might have a bit of wiggle room, whereas if it's a refurb and there's no building work going on, no additional work, then I know we're fixed or a bit more tied to what is actually there, what we've got to play with. My next question is, when are you looking to install the kitchen? Is the time frame of your project realistic? Have you come a bit late in the day and you want a kitchen next week, but you want bespoke cabinets? I'm afraid that's really not going to happen. So being realistic with your time frame is very important, and for me to understand what that is can change what we're looking at in terms of cabinets. It might be that we can only go down the stock cabinet routes because we're limited on time, or if we've got lots of time to play with, it gives us more options for suppliers, more options for bespoke cabinets, all of these things. So knowing the time frame and a realistic time frame, maybe that's a conversation as well I'll have with my client, is really important and good to know ahead of time before we really dive into the rest of the questions. My next question, similar to the time frame question, is another important one, and it's, how much are you looking to invest in your new kitchen? Now really this is my polite way of saying, what's your budget? Now there's no right or wrong budget, everybody's different and everybody's looking to achieve different things, but knowing the budget ahead of time is really helpful, not only for your kitchen designer but for yourself as well, because the last thing you want to do is get all excited and get your heart set on a particular kitchen and products, only for that kind of dream to be shattered because it's way out of your budget. Talking about your budget and being honest with your kitchen designer is really important because it can save that heartache. Now your kitchen designer isn't out to rinse every penny out of your budget, that's really not the point. It's to keep an eye on it as we're designing and to not get too carried away and throw absolutely everything in it to disappoint the client, and it helps to save time for everybody. So the next question I like to ask is, what do you like about your existing kitchen or kitchens that you've had in the past that you definitely want again in your new kitchen? So I think this is a really great question to start to understand the client a bit more and learn how they use the kitchen and what sort of things they prioritize the most. Now this could be any number of things. It could be that they absolutely love having a pantry or larder cabinet and have to have one in their next kitchen, it got used so much, they loved it. It could be a particular countertop material that they really like. They could have had quartz in their previous kitchen and they really liked it and they definitely want to have quartz again in their new kitchen. It really doesn't matter what it is, it's getting the client to think about what they like and what they want to replicate in the new kitchen. And following on from that question, I like to ask the opposite. So what are some things that you dislike about your current kitchen or kitchens you've used in the past? Now you can get some really funny answers to this. And as a designer, it's quite interesting to hear what people dislike. Again, these can be big or small, it doesn't matter. These are the pet peeves that annoy people every day. So here again, it could be something like a countertop material. Maybe they've had timber countertops in the past and just find it really difficult to maintain them. Another popular dislike are corner cabinets. So maybe in your new kitchen, you really want to avoid corners, or if you have to have a corner, maybe you want a particular type, or you definitely want to have a mechanism in there to make the most of the corners. So as a client or a customer, I think this is a good one to start to think about. Maybe go into your kitchen and stop and think about, what is it that you don't like about your kitchen? Why do you want to change your kitchen? What are the things that you definitely want to get rid of that just drive you mad? My next question is, how do you use your kitchen? I mean, the obvious answer is to cook in. What I'm trying to get at here is, do you cook a lot? Do we need a big hob or range cooker? Do we need to look at very powerful extraction? Maybe you don't really use the kitchen. Maybe you're not a big cook. Maybe it's just somewhere to store takeaway menus, and it's more about the aesthetics of the kitchen to you rather than the day-to-day kind of practicalities and functions of a kitchen. Are you a big family? Have you got lots of kids? Do we need to think about the spacing and potentially seating on the island? Anything like this to accommodate your lifestyle. So as I said, if you cook a lot and you're a big family, I'm thinking hardwaring, some space to move around, your oven setup, things like this. These are the sorts of things that are going on in my head as I'm asking how you use the kitchen. I know it sounds like a silly question and a bit obvious, I cook in the kitchen, but it's these details that will matter when it comes to designing the kitchen. My next question is, what small appliances do you have and use on a regular basis? Now, coming off the back of how you use the kitchen, I like to ask this question as it helps me to understand how much space basically we need in the kitchen to accommodate all of the things you use, and more importantly, how much countertop space we need, and to keep an eye on when you've got all of these small appliances out. So these are things like your toaster, kettle, coffee machine, blender, all of these things that you use, and if you use them on a day-to-day basis, where are we going to put them? Because we can design a lovely new kitchen and think we have all this great space, but as soon as you start to bring things back into the kitchen, suddenly there's no room on your countertop because it's all taken up by these small appliances. So by thinking about what you have and what you use on a regular basis, we can start to think, do we have enough countertop space? Is there going to be enough clear countertop space afterwards for prep? Can we eliminate some of these appliances? So if the budget enables, can we get rid of the kettle and have a boiling water tap? So think about all these small appliances and where they're going to go, and if you definitely need them. Thinking about these things and what you're bringing into the kitchen, it can help plan the overall space. And the last question I ask is my favorite and quite fun, and it's, are there any wish list or must-have items that you want for your new kitchen? Again, this question brings up all kinds of answers, and it can be really fun and also a really good way to kind of get to know what the client really wants, and a good way for the client to really stop and think, what are my wish list items? What do I really want from my new kitchen? It could be things like a boiling water tap. As I mentioned before, they're getting really popular and are becoming more and more requested in new kitchens. It could be that you want a big larder or kind of double door pantry to store all of your dried goods. Again, that's another really popular one at the moment. Whatever it is, big or small, these are things that the client would love to have, and it's good to think about these things, because if you don't talk about it and tell your designer, then they're not going to get designed in, as obvious as that sounds. And it may not be possible to fit some of these things into your kitchen. You might not have the space available, but these are your wish list items. These are things, your dream ticket items. So have a think about what these would be for your kitchen. So if you're about to have a new kitchen, or you're about to go through the kitchen design process, I'd really recommend just to stop and think about these questions and answer them for yourself, especially if you're going to meet with a kitchen designer. Thinking about these ahead of time will really help this process, and it will help you to stop and think and really understand what you want out of your new kitchen. There'll be a part 2 to this video which will go through the questions I asked that gather a bit more of the technical information I need to do the design. So like I said, look out for that one. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.